I got the whole lower unit assembled. I didn't really record any video. It's kind of, you know, the way I did it, like a lap project. It's not something I really could have recorded. So I got the outdrive, the bottom part of the outdrive together, I guess the lower unit, and I didn't really share what I did. I just kind of threw it together. Like I said, it was like something I did on my lap, so it would have been really hard to record. I wanted to go through, you know, how I did that. So these are like the things that were most important here. Let me grab one more thing. There we go. Okay, first of all, these you can get from like Harbor Freight. These are just, I don't know, like 12 inches long. The very tip of these, I took a Dremel tool and I notched the tip of them. So what that allows me to do, I found with this lock ring, it can actually grab them. When I was doing this before I notched them, it would just keep falling off. So that was one of the most important things. Also, this when you go to put this nut back in, it's supposed to have a special tool. This can grab that like this, and you can reach down in there, and then, you know, of course, with this all together, you can just spin it, you know, and then spin it right on, and then it's not a big deal. So that was how I got it started. When I was putting everything together, I just used some blue thread lock. They say to use the stick type because solvents won't, you know, wash it off, but it's going to be a little bit before this thing sees any oil, so I just use this. It shouldn't hurt. The next thing I did, I used, this is a 7/8 wrench. I notched this side. And I did this when I took it apart, so I didn't really know what I was doing at the time, but so this can slide over this, because your nut, when this is up against this, the nut is like right there. So it's you know, this sits like this pretty much. And of course, this is the nut that's all screwed up. So it gives you that clearance. That tooth has to be like in the wrench, and then, you know, you can tighten it up. So that was hindsight. I would have made this more, I don't know. I mean, you get the idea. You're almost at an angle, sort of, which kind of isn't good, but I mean, without buying that like $180 tool. Next thing I did, so I used this to get the nut on, this to, you know, jam up in there to save the nut, and this is beveled, by the way, so when you put this in here, it's kind of want to sit crooked anyway. But I used, remember I had two shafts. This is the one. The only reason I decided not to use it were these marks. These marks, you can't even feel them, but this is when I had this in the bench vise when I was taking the gears apart for the upper set. But I used a pair of vice grips. Right, let me see if I can get these set. These are really cheap vice grips, by the way. So I got it to where the teeth line up with the teeth of the thing. That's kind of important. And then I just used a pipe on this cheater bar. I had the whole unit laying down on the side. I had this wedged in there, you know, and this would go this way, clockwise. And as a mechanic, I gave it half a grunt. You know, a full grunt probably was too much, but it calls 60 to 70 foot-pounds. Doing it this way, there's no way to actually torque this. So I put a lot of pressure on it. Half a grunt to me is a full grunt, you know, as a mechanic, is about the point where you're about to shit yourself. I hate to say that, but you know, I believe I got that on there good and tight. A lot of people experience this nut coming loose and causes trouble, but I think that's how they're not putting enough pressure on this, or not using the Loctite. I'm not sure, but that's how I got this thing back together. That was kind of the trick. This is that broken thing. I'm about to put the upper gear housing together. Right now I just washed it. I need to paint it, and then I'll start doing that. I got the bearing today for it, so And I'm having a problem with my video editor, so this video might come out before the other videos, just because I don't have to fast forward through none of this. But I wanted to get something out there for you to watch. Oh, and this not anaerobic, aviation, I've never used this before. I've been a mechanic for 20 years, never used this stuff. The smell of it, I recognize the smell. I guarantee I've taken something apart and this has been on it. So I'm sure I came in contact with it. I've just never used it. But the paper gaskets for, like, you know, sealing things, it's super tacky. Pretty good stuff so far. I'm you know, for my first experience with it, I'm liking it so far. But this is what they say to use other than like Permatex, or not Permatex, the silicone, you know what I mean? Alright, let me get this video together and I'll start working on the upper half.